before, we all held small cameras / phones in our hands or splurged on a fancier piece of photography equipment. A man in Wisconsin helped make it possible. We're in the original studio. This is where it all started.
Right, where the family took portrait photography, although he was, of course, he liked to be on the river a little more than doing the portraits, but yes, he took plenty of pictures in here too.
Betsy Grant is talking about her great-grandfather, Henry Hamilton Bennett, HH Bennett as he became known, a man with a sharp eye and a technical skill that helped put a popular Midwest tourist destination on the map.
We like to say that HH Bennett, Henry Hamilton Bennett, was the man who made Wisconsin Dells famous.
As director of the HH Bennett Studio and State Historic Site, Alan Hansen is still telling Bennett's story more than a century later. Bennett was raised in Vermont, but settled in the Wisconsin Dells after the Civil War.
He couldn't take up carpentry because he had a hand injury from his service, and so he started photography, started going out, exploring the natural beauty of the rock formations here in the area, and from there he promoted the area through his photographs.
He was a wonderful speaker, and he would tell people stories of the Dells, stories about the Ho-Chunk Indians, who he got to know quite well. They became his friends. He really was the person who made Wisconsin Dells famous. He was a wonderful entrepreneur.
He's really preserved this history and this beauty.
Yeah, if he hadn't taken all those stereoscopic views and had hired agents to sell them throughout the whole country, that's what got people interested in coming here.
H.H. Bennett opened his photography studio in 1865 with his first wife. Your great-grandfather had quite the collection of cameras. This is just one of them.
Right.
And they're massive back then.
Right, and what he did was he had to make a camera for the size of the picture he wanted. Like this is probably an 8x10 or an 11x14 picture. His stereoscopic cameras are small and they're the size of the picture he was going to take. He had the 8x10, he even had some 18x22 cameras, which were really big and heavy to carry. So he was fortunate, he was the oldest of 12 children. A lot of times his brothers would help him and come along on these trips up the river to help move the cameras to take the pictures.
Business was slow in a small town. It's why Bennett would spend so much time capturing the Dells' outdoor beauty.
People would do it for special occasions and maybe for anniversaries, but they also knew most of that old-time photography, the children couldn't move for 20 seconds, so they'd kind of wait till the children were a little older. But that's part of why they show people looking rather stern and solemn, because they tell them it was easier to hold just a normal expression on your face than to try to hold a smile.
Bennett lost his first wife when she was in her 30s. Her death almost forced him from the profession he so loved.
He blamed himself. He figured that it was because of the chemicals in the photography process, because she was working a lot in the darkroom in his studio. And so for a short time, he actually considered giving up photography. But, you know, remembering the good times that he had out on the river with Frankie and her encouragement, he felt that it would be best to continue on.
He did, and just a few years later, it was one particular picture and one particular invention that would forever change the photography field.
In 1886, Bennett had developed a stop-action shutter that he called the snapper. And it really was the first stop-action shutter that could actually capture a crisp and clear image.
The snapper made it possible to take pictures of moving subjects. Before, it took several minutes to take a picture, making it impossible to record anything in real time without the image being blurry. Bennett's most famous picture was proof of his invention and of a risky move. That's his son jumping between two rock formations in the Dells. That shutter also led Bennett to become the first photographer to capture fireworks with a camera during the St. Paul Winter Carnival. Bennett also focused on a better way to print pictures. He built a revolving solar printing house that is now housed at the Smithsonian.
He was one of the first stop-action photographers. He's the first person in the world to photograph fireworks, one of the first photojournalists, and invented several shutters and cameras that were years, if not decades, ahead of his time.
That's what H.H. Bennett had. He had the sharpness of what he was doing, the technology, and he had the right eye to make the beautiful seen.
Had it all.
Yeah.
Bennett remarried and had another family with his second wife. He ran his studio his whole life and died at the age of 65 in 1908.
Well, I always felt like we had a lot to live up to do what he did for the community, for his family. He was a very good businessman as well as a very inventive photographer. And every day he was out to earn his living.
Bennett's family donated his studio to the state of Wisconsin in 1999. A moment in time the Dells will preserve, knowing the man behind the camera. No cell phones, no selfie sticks.
No cell phones, no selfie sticks.
Couldn't have known where his vision would eventually lead.
Life to the Max is brought to you by Life Touch, photography for a lifetime.